Let's go, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into the Vol Fanatic Show. We are live on YouTube, but you can listen to us anywhere on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Welcome into the show. My name is Skylar. My co-host, Michael. How are we doing, Bubba?
We're doing pretty good, man. Bit of a quiet week on the football front this week. Just the Army-Navy game. We did have some basketball going on, but enjoy some time with the wife yesterday, doing some Christmas shopping, and went to MTSU basketball game last night with my dad. Watched a decent game last night. But how's everything going on your end, man?
Dude, it's been doing great. So a little side note, outside of sports, me and my family and my company at Restoration One, we did the Christmas parade in Oak Ridge. There was about 150 entries in that thing. I think the parade lasted about 2.5 hours. It was crazy, dude. But to see my family come together, put together a really cool float, that was awesome. But before we get into this show, do you have any shout outs for the week?
Well, before we do our shout outs, I do want to make mention. I'm not sure how the weather was up in your area last night, but prayers up to everybody in the Clarksville area, Hendersonville area. I know there was other areas affected by the storm yesterday, but those were the two big areas hit in Tennessee. So prayers up to all those folks up there. I know it was significant damage from the tornadoes yesterday. So prayers up to everybody in those areas there. My shout out of the week, I've got a minor one that I've already mentioned. My dad, we went to the MTSU game last night. Had a great time up there. Great father-son time up there. But my shout out of the week is going to go to a guy that I've shouted out earlier this year, Ben Franklin. Played football for Cornersville this past year. He was a finalist for Mr. Football this year. I'm trying to find his season stats on the fly real quick, but he also played in the TACA East-West All-Star game on Friday. Let's see here. All right, so here is his career rushing stats at Cornersville. He holds school records for career rushing yards, 4,485 yards over 4 years. Also holds the school record for rushing yards in a season. This year, he rushed for 2,346 yards. He holds a school record for touchdowns in a game with 7. Rushing yards in a game, he also holds the school record, 365. He has 58 career touchdowns. There's nothing beside it says school record on that, but that's got to be very close to a school record. And he also had 33 touchdowns this past season overall, which is also a school record. And that's not to mention his defensive stats. He is actually committed to play at Navy as a defensive end. So all those rushing stats right there is insane, but he's being recruited to play college football as a defensive end. So shout out to Ben Franklin, like I said, Mr. Football finalist in Class A, and got to play in the TACA East-West All-Star game this past week. Just awesome young man. He is so humble, great guy, and I really hope everybody is able to watch him at the next level.
Yeah, and doing it the right way. I mean, that kid is, small town. You grew up in Cornersville, or went to Cornersville. We all know what that school is like. We got a big rivalry between Richland and Cornersville, and to see that kid do everything that he's done to this point. And speaking of the Army-Navy game, he is committed to Navy, as you said. So that's freaking awesome.
Yeah, not to mention he has a 4.0 GPA in high school too. So it's not just him doing it on the football field; he's doing it in the classroom as well.
That's awesome, man. So massive shout out to Ben Franklin. That kid's a stud, man. We're looking forward to seeing you at the next level, kid. So good job. So I've got a cool story myself. And Robert, what's up, man? We are not doing SEC Bowl picks today. I do want to let you know that. We are just previewing the games, brother. But, I always enjoy positive feedback from our viewers, whether it's, messaging us in the live chat or actually sending me a private message. Well, I actually had 2 people do that this week. First, I'm going to shout out Heather Smith and her son on TikTok. They actually sent me a really cool message. I sent you the screenshot of it. I'm not going to read that word for word just because I'd have to pull it up. But she knows what she said, and it really it truly meant a lot. So basically the story is her son and her basically seen me at the Georgia game in Vol Village, and they knew exactly who I was from the TikTok channel and the YouTube channel that we run. And I thought that was pretty cool because honestly, in so many ways, I still feel like that 7-year-old kid when I'm on campus and I see somebody that I listen to or something like that. So thought that was really cool. But she said that, you know, we're a positive influence on her child and she really appreciates that. So massive shout out to her. Thank you so much. And then Connor Peak, a buddy of mine that's in several of the chambers that I'm in, he sent me a private text message earlier this week. I think it was Monday. Like the moment he got into his truck, he was just like, dude, I listened to it on the way to work. Great show this week. And so massive shout out to him. But no, like you said, everybody in Middle Tennessee, really, I've seen some pretty scary videos out of Nashville. Prayers up to them. And if you know anybody that needs help with restoring, not to throw my company a bone because we don't really do that area, but I do know folks in that area that can absolutely help assist. Y'all give me a comment, send me a message. I will try to do my best to help you guys out. We got generators, anything you need, heaters. I know it's cold out there, but we're trying to help Middle Tennessee get back to normal again because it's pretty rough out there.
Yeah. So moving forward today, a little rundown what we're going to do. So we're going to preview the bowl games that the SEC teams are in. All we had last week was the playoffs and the New Year's Six bowls. The rest of the bowl games were not announced by the time we went off the air last week. So that is going to be our first segment today. Then we're going to do a little transfer portal update, mostly talking about Tennessee today. We might get into some of the other teams here coming up down the road once everything is finalized, because the transfer portal will be closing, let's see, early January. Am I right on that?
I think so. Pray for Texas A&M.
Yeah, that too. So we'll kind of give a bigger rundown on the rest of the teams once that's closed down. And then to cap off the show today, we're going to recap the Tennessee win yesterday over Illinois, a big win for Tennessee at home in Thompson-Boling Arena. So without further ado, Skylar.
Before we get into this, massive news last night, but I don't think it was a surprise, right? Jayden Daniels winning the Heisman Trophy. Do you agree with that?
I do agree
100%.
with that. I mean,
there was nobody better.
Yeah, when you look at it, you know, if Michael Penix Jr., we'll just give a quick breakdown real quick over it. Michael Penix Jr., what he did for Washington was big, but he had other guys around him that helped out with Washington's success as well. Bo Nix, same deal at Oregon. He had a lot to do with that success, but the other guys around him also helped out. Marvin Harrison Jr., you know, he did what he could as a wide receiver, but, you know, there's only so much that you can do whenever you don't have the ball in your hands. Jayden Daniel, what he did for his team this year, if it was not for him, I promise you LSU would have been a 500 team, if not worse this year. Just what all he did for his team this year, there's no one better in college football. I 100% agree with Jayden Daniels winning the Heisman Trophy.
I agree with that 100%. I don't even think it should have been like a discussion, really. Like I love that it seemed like the Heisman show was dragged on so long, and then, like, the whole time in the back of my mind, I'm like we know, like we really, like, this really shouldn't even be I don't know, like, this year for the first time in a long time, I think it was, other than Caleb Williams, I guess that was pretty known, but I mean, this year just kind of felt like Jayden Daniel. I mean, I think he had like over 1,000 total yards more than any other quarterback in the running. And then, like you said, Marvin Harrison, he had a good season, but I think he even had a better season last year, and he lost, then and the Biletnikoff last year. So not to take away anything that what he did away from him, because he's a wide receiver. He had well over 1,000 yards, and I think he was a pivotal point of running Ohio State's offense. I think without Marvin Harrison, like you said about, without Jayden Daniels, I think without Marvin Harrison, Ohio State may not be a 11-win team. So, but no, I think far and away, Jayden Daniels was the best player in college football. He can't help how bad his defense was. I mean, he can't play both sides of the ball. So I agree with it wholeheartedly.
Yeah, and looking down this list here of all the awards of college football this year, Jayden Daniels just racked up. He won the Heisman Trophy. He also won the Walter Camp Player of the Year award, the Davey O'Brien National Quarterback Award. the Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award. Brock Bowers won the John Mackey Award for the most outstanding tight end. That was obvious, in my opinion. I don't know any other tight end that should have won it or even been in the running for it. Looking down, it looks like Lad McConkey got the Werfel Trophy Award, the top community servant of the year.
Okay.
It looks like that is all the SEC players that won awards so far. I'm not seeing the I am not seeing the Burlsworth Award, so I wonder if they have not given that out yet. Because I do believe that what's his name from Missouri, Cody Schrader. I believe that he is a lock to win that because he started off his career as a walk-on at Missouri, and you look how he didn't win the Maxwell Award.
Yeah.
The Doak Walker Award. Looks like Ollie Gordon II won that one. I don't know how Cody Schrader didn't win it, but
massive shout out to Cody Schrader. Dude was like unheard of beginning of the season. He finished, I think, 6th or 7th in the Heisman voting. So he was dang near.
He was that high.
He was a dang near Heisman finalist after the season that he had, and he should be. He was the best running back in the best league, dude. Like, hands down, hats off to him. But no, it's award season. I think they are still doing awards, by the way, so I don't think all of them are final. But let's get into some of the playoff, or not playoff games, but bowl games that we got going on. We did mention the playoff. Alabama did make that. They will be playing in the Rose Bowl against Michigan on January 1st. That'll be at 5 o'clock Eastern on ESPN. The matchup, I think Michigan was definitely scared of.
Did you see the video of the reaction in the room whenever Michigan found out they were playing Alabama? It was almost comical. I mean, they cheered because they started clapping because they knew they were in. They wanted to show off for the cameras a little bit, but it was just like, hey, we're banking on playing Florida State, and then we get Alabama, and it's like, crap, man. What is? I loved it.
I seen so many memes where John Harbaugh put a picture of his clipboard or whatever, and he was like, "Crap, I had the wrong signs for this game." But man, I thought that was the funniest thing ever. But no, man, seeing Michigan's reaction is the exact reason why I feel like the CFP got it right.
Yeah, and we're not doing predictions today, but what are your thoughts on this matchup here?
Well, my thoughts are pretty clear. Alabama's not, invincible.
Correct.
Michigan could kind of come in and still play their brand of football. But what I want to know is one, you can't ever bet against Nick Saban, especially in these type of situations. I do believe Bama is 5-0 against number 1 ranked teams. And so once again, they're playing a number 1 ranked team in the semifinal. But I guess my thing is does Jalen Milroe have that game where it doesn't really matter how the defense of Alabama is playing? Because if that's the case, look out. But if Michigan kind of brand that or bring that, in the trenches type brand where they just run the ball and then play great defense behind that, then I think the matchup could favor Michigan very well. What about you?
I think you're right. I think if it comes to that type of a game, it could favor Michigan some. Here's what I think the X factor is because, we mentioned the job that Nick Saban has done this year. And there's been a lot of other people talk about it too. This might be Nick Saban's best coaching job of his entire career. Just
I would agree.
How they went from game 1 until now. I believe that this game could come down to Alabama's defense trying to force Michigan to pass the ball, prove that they can actually throw the ball downfield to beat Alabama. Is if they hone in on Blake Corum and that Michigan running game and shut it down, I don't think that Michigan has enough success through the air to be able to keep up with Alabama. I think that Milroe and these receivers, as well as the running game for Alabama, they're going to have enough success in this game that they're going to score some points. Is this going to be a high-scoring game? Absolutely not, because Michigan's defense is still really good. Alabama's defense is really good. This game is probably going to be. This is my opinion here. I think whoever gets to 21st might win this game. I'll even say 24. I'll say 24 just to make it fair. Whoever gets there first, I think wins the game, and it might not even take that much. This is going to be a low scoring defensive battle.
I don't see how it isn't. JJ McCarthy's not really been forced to win a game, so it would kind of be nice to see maybe that type of situation arise. Now, for Alabama fans, they don't want it to be close, right? But if Michigan really wants to be that national championship team, they're going to get a matchup this New Year's Day where they're going to need their full offense. Because like I said, they kind of relied on Blake Corum, and they have another guy that's really good. I can't think of it, but the running back group, and then they've relied heavily on that defense. And it's a working recipe, so they've not had to change it. But against Bama, I don't think you're going to be able to run it up and down their throat like they have been doing to every other Big Ten team this year. So I agree with you, man. Like without picking the game, I think it's a good matchup. I do think it's one that Bama looks at, and like I said, with them being the number one team, I don't think that really phases them. And in their mindset, they know they're there. They deserve to be there in their mind. And Michigan, on the other hand, they better fix whatever mindset that was, because that was pretty crappy in that video. I'll be honest. Take away the nice filter. Them being upset about that pick was actually kind of comical, like you said. Terrible reaction, losing mentality, 100%.
Absolutely, and a shout out to Robert in the comments. He did say that Cody Schrader did win the Burlsworth Trophy. Like I say, it wasn't on that list there, but Robert, appreciate that. Thank you.
That's why we need him here. That's why we need him here. He corrects us.
Robert is here every single week, as long as he doesn't have something going on, man. It's almost like that he is here live with us, man. We ought to invite him on one day just to talk to him.
From California too, dude.
Yeah, San Diego, California, man. Shout out to Robert.
That's right. All right, man. Let's move on. Let's get through these New Year's Six bowls. By the way, we had counting Alabama, we had 4 SEC teams in the New Year's Six. That's crazy. But the next one I got on my list is the Goodyear Cotton Bowl, December 29th. It's 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN, and it's Missouri versus Ohio State. And I love the matchup. 100% love the matchup.
I was going to say, I absolutely love this matchup. And, this matchup actually favors Missouri a little bit more than it did before, because Kyle McCord has entered the transfer portal for Ohio State. So they're going to be starting a backup quarterback in the bowl game in his first start. I love this matchup because both defenses are solid. Ohio State did a fantastic job. Ryan Day went out and got a defensive coordinator and really stepped up that Ohio State defense. Ohio State in the past, they have focused on winning games based on their offense. And this year, there was numerous games where that defense won them the ball game.
Absolutely.
Missouri also does that really decent. They've got a really good defense. They're not a great defense. They're not in Iowa. They're not a Georgia. They're not in Alabama. But their defense is just good enough that they can beat teams. And then their offense is just a well-oiled machine with Brady Cook, Luther Burden, and Cody Schrader out there.
They'll all be healthy.
Yes, they'll all be healthy. And I absolutely love this matchup here. I have no idea who's going to win the game. If I was to pick today, I would probably lean Missouri a little bit because of Kyle McCord transferring out from Ohio State. But this game is going to be must-watch television.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on who I would lean, but more than one reason. One, have you heard of any Missouri player opting out or just hitting the transfer portal?
No. I have not. And
that team is locked in. That team is absolutely locked in. When you talk about coaching jobs.
Eli Drinkwitz.
That's what I'm saying. You talk about coaching jobs and how great of a job Nick Saban's done. And here I am in the preseason saying I hate Eli Drinkwitz. I think he's kind of like a clown, not really serious, especially with the offseason comments that he makes every year. And then he comes in and builds a 10-2 Missouri team. And now you're in that first window of portal, and Missouri's locked in. I don't think I think you're going to literally get the best brand of football from Missouri December 29th.
I agree.
And so, Ohio State, I mean, there's some rumors that maybe Marvin Harrison comes back because, he, more than anybody, wants to beat Michigan and win the Big Ten, and unfortunately hasn't had that opportunity yet. No, I love the matchup. I personally really, other than Clemson, I mean, I wanted to play Ohio State for personal reasons. My biological father's Ohio State fan, and I've never in my lifetime got to witness Tennessee versus Ohio State. Now, I'm going to praise God about that because Ohio State's been great and Tennessee has been terrible. But, now that both the teams are kind of, consistently top 10, 15, 20-ish, I think it'll be a really cool matchup to see and, have that in family rivalry there. No, I think that's a great matchup. I will definitely be tuned into that one.
Yeah, and talking about reactions on Selection Sunday, did you see Eli Drinkwitz's interview with the guys on the selection show last Sunday? They brought him on, and to end his interview, he said, "Well, guys, I better get off here. I need to call Connor Stallions and see about hitting him up about Ohio State's game plan on as much as I don't like Eli Drinkwitz, and I still don't, but I respect what he's done this year. That was comical. I mean, that boosted my like for him up a little bit. Him being able to joke around like that, and Reese Davis, he laughed out loud, but it was almost one of those like, I can't believe he just said that at the same time. So,
Robert, real quick, buddy. He said, players, and this is a really good question. Players that enter the transfer portal, are they allowed to then play in the bowl game for their current team? And the short answer is, yeah, actually, they're not disqualified just for entering the portal. However, majority of the time, it's going to be like a mutual decision that they're probably not going to play. They're probably going to be looking elsewhere. They're probably going to opt out, whatever. But to answer your question, as far as like if there's a law behind it, no, they're technically still eligible to play because they would still be enrolled at that school. So, yeah, I did not see that he got a 5-star corner. I was reading his comment. My bad.
Yeah, his next comment there. Did we see that Missouri got a 5-star corner from Clemson in the transfer portal?
Missouri's killing it, dude. They're locked in. They're going to be a team that it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out because Josh Heupel. Now, I don't know if we play Missouri every year, of course, because the new schedules and whatnot. But Josh Heupel has a history with Missouri. So, I'd love for both of those teams to kind of find their way to the top of the SEC and that kind of be a Josh Heupel type of rivalry. But, the next bowl game that I want to talk about, because I think it's oddly enough the most interesting one, the Capital One Orange Bowl, what Tennessee played in last year. It's December 30th, 4:00 Eastern on the ESPN network. It's Georgia versus Florida State. It's the 5-6 team that got left out. And both of us kind of had our arguments with those teams. Like, we understand on Florida State's reason, like, because the playoff committee is trying to just mitigate the damages. Because no matter how they would have went, they would have been the first time something had happened, regardless on their decision.
Yeah.
But you also got Georgia, who went from being the number 1 ranked team in America, voted on by that same committee, and they drop them to number 6 because they lost by 3 points in their SEC championship game. A game that's not supposed to mean as much as the regular season games, right? They're not supposed to punish a team as harshly in the championship games as they do in the regular season, but yet they still drop 5 spots. Interesting game here. I want to know your thoughts on it.
So we talked a little bit about this game last week because we were able to find out that these two teams were playing before we got off the air. And I backtracked on it, but I made the mistake of saying that I think that the committee got this game wrong about who Florida State should play. And I said that I think that they should have played Liberty. And I didn't mean that in a bad way towards Florida State. I felt like that Georgia playing Oregon would have been a more interesting matchup to me than Florida State playing against Georgia because personally, the way that Florida State is right now, I think that Georgia is going to absolutely steamroll Florida State in this game. But on the flip side, how much satisfaction would you have as a Florida State fan if you go out there and you beat the team that, in my opinion, is still the number one team in the nation, is still the best team in the nation? I won't say number one team, still the best overall team in the nation. How would you know, how satisfying would it feel as a Florida State fan to go out there and beat that team and say, and look at the committee leaving us out of the playoffs?
100%.
On one hand, yeah, on one hand, you would be very satisfied for that, but on the other hand, you would be just absolutely furious because they just said that you couldn't.
Why are you asking me and then you're answering your own question? See, you know what? No, you're asking me, son. All right, look, but you're absolutely right. You're never going to turn down a win, right? So on one hand, they're going to be very ecstatic that they beat Georgia. But then on the other hand, it wouldn't freaking matter. Like it would honestly, like you said, it would infuriate me that we were not in the playoff. And thus literally you sit there with a New Year's Six win over Georgia. And now what? Like you literally, I mean, I don't even want to talk about it. Really doesn't matter. And I think that's why ultimately I kind of want to ask you this. Do you think the game gets played, period?
That's a good question. I think that it should. And my dad and I talked about this on the way up to the game last night. He said, you know, Florida State before the season started was talking about wanting to leave the ACC conference. If they don't play in this bowl game, because, you know, so there's been conversation talking about, you know, if Georgia or Alabama wins the college football playoff, you know, how does that help Tennessee any? Well, on one hand, it doesn't help Tennessee any, but on the other hand, when you play in these big bowl games like this, you get revenue for the conference that goes towards each school. So
split even.
Yes. So if Florida State was to not play in this bowl game, they don't get that money from the conference or for the conference to split among the other ACC teams. What other conference is going to want Florida State? Because they're going to sit there and say, well, look at what you did in this bowl game. You sat out and cost your conference millions of dollars. We don't want you because you might do the same thing to us.
Well, yes and no, but I have heard through the grapevine and through some cool little videos that I watch, Florida State's actually raised enough money through their whatever, basically for their buyout of the conference. Almost like if they wanted to pull the trigger at any moment, they can. So it's interesting that you bring that up because I wonder if Florida State's decision really, it doesn't really matter what the ACC thinks. Because at the end of the day, especially with all the movement we have going on, they'll just leave. Here, take your $170 million that you need. We'll bounce and go somewhere else that, you know, well, actually, because right now I think ACC is one of the, at least now they are because of the Pac-2, one of the least paying as far as like per college or per team, you know, in the nation out of the Power Fives, Power Fours, however you want to call it. You know, you got the SEC, Big Ten are very much with their new TV deals. They're giving each school dang near 50 to 100 million every season, just splitting it. Bam, there you go. And you got the ACC that's only doing like 15 to 20 million, and the Big 12 is doing way better than that now. Which I don't know how with them losing Texas and Oklahoma, but whatever. So yeah, I mean, I think this decision, it's an interesting one because, you know, they had a press conference with Kirby and Mike Norvell, and that press conference got canceled for the bowl game. So I'm very interested to see what the future holds for this Orange Bowl because maybe a chance that there's not one.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I still strongly believe that they should play in the game, but you know,
as a football fan, yes. Yeah, but hey man, the last one on the New Year's Six slate is the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, December 30th. And we had an argument over Missouri or Ole Miss, which one should be in the New Year's Six. And luckily for us, they both got in. You got Ole Miss versus Penn State, another great matchup. December 30th on ESPN. I think I already said that. But no, another reason why I like this matchup is because we were trying to show why the SEC is just, by numbers at least this season, better than the Big Ten. And we kind of both agreed that Penn State was a lot like Ole Miss, that 10-2 team that lost to the SEC's Big Two in Georgia and Alabama. Well, Ole Miss was that team, and Penn State was that team. And now you're getting to see literally the third place teams in both conferences going head to head in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl.
And, you mentioned Missouri not having a whole lot of people transferring out, or you don't hear much about that, or people sitting out. I haven't heard many people for Ole Miss transferring out or people sitting out either. Now, maybe I'm just not listening as good as I should, or looking up things as good as I should. But what have you heard as far as Ole Miss? Is there many names that you know of that are either transferring or sitting out?
Not any names that I know of, but I think there have been some names that entered, but more like roster management. Because Lane Kiffin, he's going to hit the portal hard, so he's got to make sure that he opens up some space in the roster, so that he has room to go out and get the guys that he needs. I know one quarterback that actually committed there last year, Spencer Sanders. He's hating every minute of his decision. he transferred there, and I think his final year of eligibility just to sit behind Jackson Dart, and so that sucks for that kid. But Lane Kiffin had to do what he had to do, and that's improve his quarterback room, and he did that. So this year, how Lane Kiffin is. But now another reason why you're not seeing so much is because they're in a New Year's Six bowl.
That's true.
They're not in a lower tier bowl where the players are kind of checked out. No, they still have a lot to play for, and they're going against a great opponent, Penn State, and who knows? Drew Aller out there. I kind of had an up and down season, really. I mean, Penn State, unfortunately, they're judged on 2 games. I mean, and if they lose both of them, Penn State has gone 10-2 again, and yet it feels like a losing season for them. Their mindset is they should be 1-1 with Ohio State, Michigan, and I love that mindset. But it's just so far they haven't been able to get it done with Franklin, not Ben Franklin.
James,
players still stuck in my mouth. James Franklin, thank you. I was like, man, he's so good. He's in my mind 30 minutes into the show. All right. But James Franklin hasn't been able to pull that trigger on Ohio State or Michigan. But this is a big game for him to maybe get one over the SEC and Ole Miss. And he's familiar with Ole Miss. Being at Vanderbilt, they had to play Ole Miss every year.
Yeah.
So
and we're not making predictions this week, but some of the thoughts from myself on this game is, I mentioned some when we found out this matchup last week that I like Ole Miss a little bit because they on defense they're very strong against the run, but suspect against the pass. And Drew Aller has not proven himself as a passer this year, kind of like JJ McCarthy out at Michigan. He hasn't proven himself as a passer this year. So I think that favors Ole Miss a little bit, but also I don't have the exact stats on hand, but James Franklin is that people say that he is an overrated coach. And to quote Josh Pate a little bit, he is a properly rated coach because when he plays against teams that he is favored against, he doesn't lose those games. If he is a favorite, he wins those games. Now, against teams that are ranked ahead of him or are favored over him, he's not as good. He has won a few of those games, but he wins the games that he's supposed to, and he loses the games that he's supposed to. So let me pull the spread up in this game real quick. So right now, Penn State is a 3.5-point favorite. And if I'm going off of trends, I'm going to favor Penn State in this game because James Franklin does not lose games that he is not favored in. And James Franklin is that one coach that he knows what the spread is in a game. So let's take a Maryland team, for instance. I don't remember what the spread was in that game, but I want to think it was somewhere around like 13 points. They were winning by, I believe it was, I don't even remember this year, but I want to think it was somewhere around 9. And I could be completely butchering the team that they were playing. Late in the game, Penn State has the ball. All you got to do is run the clock out. James Franklin scored another touchdown to make sure that his team covered that spread because good teams win, great teams cover. And James Franklin lives by that right there. So this is going to be another game that is going to be must-watch TV, in my opinion.
A lot of good matchups in late December, early January. And I know some people kind of live and die by the playoff, but, vintage college football, it's all about bowl season. I'm all for bowl season. I love seeing the clash of different conferences come together here at the end of the year. So no matter what bowl it is, if it's going to be a good matchup, you can go ahead and bet that I'll be watching. Just like this next game. We got A&M playing Oklahoma State in the Tex-Ax Texas Bowl. This is Mike Elko's first game, December 27th, 9 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. I love the matchup. Once again, dude, Oklahoma State coming off their loss in the Big 12 championship. But, that was a Texas team that wasn't going to take no for an answer. And Texas A&M has a lot to prove now under their new head coach. Not saying that this game really matters for him because he's only got a month to prepare for it, and he's just now, not even a month, really, like 3 weeks. And, he just got there. So I kind of want to see the fight that A&M has left. I mean, they've had 57 kids at the transfer portal in the last 2 weeks. And, I want to see what Mike Elko brings as far as a spark to this A&M team to see if they have a chance against Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I'm really interested to see what Texas A&M is going to do in this game. But, it's hard right now to make a prediction in this game because you don't know who all is going to be there. They've had so many guys hit the portal, but I think that Mike Elko is going to talk to some of these guys, and I think that they're going to change their mind and come back to Texas A&M. We mentioned it. I love the hire of Mike Elko to Texas A&M. I think he's going to do some good things out there in College Station. But I'm going to be real interested to see what this game looks like against Gundy's Oklahoma State Cowboys, who just, did not look good at all in that Big 12 championship game. But that was because Texas did exactly what they needed to. They took care of business. And, this is one of those situations where Texas A&M was the 6th or 7th ranked SEC team in the conference, something like that. Playing against the number 2 team in the conference of the Big 12, this is going to be an exciting matchup. It might not be very high scoring, but it's going to be an exciting matchup.
Yeah, and I know Oklahoma State looked really bad against Texas in the Big 12 championship, but I don't want that to kind of shy away what they were able to. You talk about coaching jobs. Mike Gundy did a great job. Man, they had such a bad loss in the beginning of the season. I can't even remember what team it was. I think it was South Alabama.
Yeah, South Alabama in Oklahoma State's home stadium.
Yeah, dude, it was terrible. And Bedlam, come on. But the fact that he was able to rally the troops and then make it to the Big 12 championship game, the reason why I think, Texas wasn't going to take no for an answer, but I think Oklahoma State, and this is a terrible mindset, but they made the Big 12 championship. And I think that's what they were playing all season to do. And so in their mind, they had made it. They knew they weren't going to make a playoff or whatever. But, Mike Gundy rallied the troops after some terrible losses and ended up having a great season. But Mike Elko, like we mentioned, great hire from Duke. That's going to be a good matchup. I'm definitely going to be watching it. And I'm excited to see the changes on A&M, particularly with the new head coach. Like, what changes is he able to implement within 3 weeks? I'm looking forward to that.
Yep, I'm right there with you. So what's the next game that you want to talk about? Because you got the list over there today, buddy. You're a little bit more prepared than I am.
You see this book, baby? We all Big Orange. No, Robert, brother, I'm with you. I want the SEC to sweep every school. That way I can stop hearing that the ACC's got like a 7-5 record over the SEC and whatever, dude. I'm with you 100%. The next one I got on my list is December 29th. It's the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl, and it's at noon in Jacksonville. You got Kentucky versus the 22nd ranked Clemson Tigers. I was told by a friend Clemson backed out of another bowl against Tennessee, so they got Kentucky.
They didn't want to get beat 2 years in a row, but anyway.
They were scared. He got caught flipping burgers. That's all it was, dude.
That's exactly right. But talking about how the ACC is 7-5 or whatever over the SEC this year, I don't think that this game is going to change anything. I think that Clemson is just a little bit better than Kentucky is, especially on the offensive side of the ball, because Devin Leary has been a disappointment this year.
100%.
he had all this hype coming into this season. And I want to touch a little bit more on this later when we get to our transfer portal side of our conversation. But, Devin Leary just had so much hype coming in, did not do anything with it. It's been Ray Davis or bust this year for Kentucky. And I just feel like that Clemson, and you want to talk about coaching jobs again, Dabo Swinney and that Clemson team had every reason in the world to just lay down and quit midway through the year. You drop your first game of the year by double digits to Duke, Mike Elko's Duke team. And then not only that, but you lost to Florida State. I believe that game was at home in Death Valley. And you also lost to NC State. And I forget who the other team was now. It was another conference opponent.
It wasn't Duke, Miami. Was it Miami?
I think they beat Miami. Maybe Louisville. Did Louisville?
Might have been Louisville. Yeah, might have been Louisville.
I know that I know that they lost 4 conference games this year, and it was most of them were like back to back to back. But they turned it around at the end of the year and started playing ball, and they ended up with an 8-4 record. I mean, we were sitting there talking at the end of the year about the possibility of South Carolina pulling off an upset, and they dang nearly did it. But Dabo did a great job of rallying the troops this year, and I just feel like that they're a little bit overmatched for Kentucky in this game right now, and apparently Vegas thinks so too, because Clemson is a 7-point favorite sitting here today. What are your thoughts on this game?
Well, I mean, Clemson definitely got a great draw in their bowl matchup. I don't. This is the first game that we talked about all day. I don't like the matchup. I think Clemson should be playing a little bit better of an opponent, but then again, they were 8-4 in a pretty bad conference. You got Kentucky, who actually beat Louisville, who was in the ACC championship game. So to say that Kentucky can't do it, I think is a little bit a shot in the dark. I think Kentucky has the ability, especially now that they know that their head coach is coming back and not fishing for another job. Who knows? I think this game, dude, if Kentucky finds a way to beat Clemson, I'm done with the whole ACC versus SEC conversation.
Yeah.
Like it's terrible. I mean, because Kentucky may be this year, I don't know, the ninth best team in the SEC. Is that accurate? Somewhere in that?
Possibly, 8? Yeah. I know that they're below Tennessee. They're above Florida though because of the head to head, but they're in the bottom half of the conference right now.
Absolutely. Well, you got four to 5 teams in the West that are better than Kentucky, and then you got 3 teams in the East. So I mean, they're in the 8th to 9th range. I mean, but either way, Clemson should win this game. But I'm not going to make that pick yet. Just wanted to kind of talk about that game, dude. I thought that would, appease the listeners. But
Robert, to point out your comment right here, I've got some
you wanted to talk about this.
I've got some thoughts on this, but I'm going to save it until we talk about the transfer portal.
There you go. Make them wait.
We'll get to that shortly. We got just 2 or 3 more games to talk about.
We got 3, but we'll go ahead and knock these out because I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this one. Auburn, Maryland, and the Music City Bowl, December 30th, 2 p.m. Eastern, and ABC. Auburn, Maryland. I ain't got nothing for you. I'm not watching this game. Period.
I'm gonna watch it because it's SEC football, but. I'm with you on one hand. It doesn't really move the needle for me, but it's also intriguing because Auburn has got a decent defense. I mean, they've got a pretty good defense. And I'm really interested to see what they do against, I think it's his name, Talua Tagovailoa. I know it's Tua's brother.
Tualia, I think.
Tualia. I can never remember his first name.
Yeah, I think it's Tualia.
Yeah, I can never remember his first name, but Maryland does a very good job of passing the ball. I'm going to be interested to see what Auburn's offense can do against Maryland's defense. But right now, Auburn is favored in this game, so we'll see what what transpired.
I think they're putting too much stock into what they did against Bama into that line, because I think the only reason why they were competitive against Bama is because it was Bama. That you're always going to get a different Auburn team when it comes to the Iron Bowl than what you're going to get the rest of the season. So maybe I'm wrong on that, but yeah, it's not necessarily that I'm knocking Maryland or Auburn. I'm knocking the Music City Bowl, and Tennessee's been in it several times. It's in Nashville, Tennessee. I just hate the Music City Bowl. It's a 6-6 bowl. It is what it is. I don't like it. There's a lot of folks out there that don't believe in 500 teams being able to go bowling, and I disagree with that because I like bowl games, but I don't like the Music City Bowl. I'll be honest. But no, man, you're good, Robert. You're good. But we had talking about Brock Vandergriff in the next segment. But no, we got two more games, including our boys. But this one is LSU versus Wisconsin on January 1st. It's at noon on ESPN2. It's the ReliaQuest Bowl in Tampa, Florida. LSU versus Wisconsin.
Does nothing for me.
I think this is a terrible matchup. I think LSU rolls Wisconsin, dude.
Yes, Luke Fickell
Not
is
that I'm making picks, but shocker, dude. Like, it's Wisconsin. Come on.
Yeah, Luke Fickell is going to be brought down to earth in this game, as he was most of the year. Everybody thought that Wisconsin was going to make the Big Ten championship game with Luke Fickell at the helm, and I thought that it was going to take a year or two. I think that Fickell is a good coach for Wisconsin. I think that was a great hire, but it's going to take a couple years. Yeah, this is his first year there, and we talked about Jaden Daniels earlier. I just don't see Wisconsin have any answer for Jaden Daniels, because the best season.
Do we know that he's playing? Do we know that he's playing? I mean, he's a Heisman winner.
I believe he's going to play, because even though he's the Heisman winner, he's still, I believe, is like 4th or 5th on the quarterback list of quarterbacks to watch for going into the draft. So I think he's going to play and try to up his draft stock a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. I didn't know that.
I could be wrong on that, but so don't hold me to it. But I believe that he is still I think he's still behind. I know he's behind Caleb Williams. I think Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr. are ahead of him as well, and probably Drake May as well is still ahead of him. So that would at least be But like I said, that's Mel Kiper's list. I don't really trust Mel Kiper when it comes to those lists right there. But I do think that he's going to play in the game to try to help up his draft stock a little bit.
I got you 100%. Well, then in that case, give me LSU by 20. Let's talk about the game, dude. We got Iowa versus Tennessee in Orlando, Florida, in the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl. Save it. You can't spell citrus without UT. There it is. There's your joke. This is going to be on ABC, 1 p.m. Eastern, kind of the same time as the LSU-Wisconsin game. I'll be honest, this is a really good matchup. You got Iowa defense that is absolutely stone cold against the run, and you got an offense of Tennessee that loves to run the ball. So you're going to be seeing this game we'll have to see in the first quarter how it takes its toll on the line. I like the matchup. I think Tennessee ultimately should win the game. But as far as Iowa goes, they have every ingredient to screw up our offense that they need to have. So what say you?
I have changed my original thoughts on this game, because when I first found out about Tennessee playing against Iowa, which was right after we got off the air last week, I said, "Are you serious? Tennessee is playing Iowa. This is going to be the most boring bowl game out there, kind of like the Iowa-Kentucky game was last year. The only difference is Tennessee can score a little bit more than Kentucky, but this year, not a whole lot more. But I agree with you. I've changed my tune on it. This is a great matchup, because you've got the best defense in the country in Iowa going up against a Tennessee offense that has the ability to score points, but has not done it a lot this year. But you've got an Iowa offense that is just terrible going up against a Tennessee defense that can be pretty suspect at times. This is going to be a great matchup that I agree. I think Tennessee will probably pull it out, just because I think that they can score more points than Iowa can. But Have you seen the over-under in this game?
I have not. I'm still intrigued by who's playing, who's not playing. It is looking like Joe Milton could be gearing up to play, which I don't understand it 100%. And it's not me knocking on the kid because I'm ready to see Nico. It's me saying he's got a bigger, better bowl win against Clemson last year. He could end his college career on a 6-touchdown game against Vanderbilt. Like, I don't know. I just felt like everything was leading up to let's get ready for the pros. Have a good day, Milton. We appreciate what you've done for Tennessee because he's honestly, statistically, he's one of the best quarterbacks at Tennessee. But but it looks like he's playing, so I'm going to support it. But go ahead, tell me the line. Sorry.
So the line is Tennessee minus 8.5 right now. The over under is 36.5.
Yeah, dude. 21 points wins this game. I think I seen the other day that Iowa's only scored over 22 points twice this year, and it hasn't happened since September 22nd, 21st. I don't know. Iowa can't score points.
So speaking of that, I sent you this picture.
They've got 1,000. I don't think this is in it, but their punter has 1,000 more yards than their offense has.
Okay, yeah, that wasn't in there, but that doesn't surprise me at all. But I sent you this yesterday. Iowa's Torrey Taylor is just 19 yards away from breaking Johnny Pingle's single-season punting yards record of 4,138. This record has stood since 1938. That was the year. That was the year that General Neyland led Tennessee to their first national championship in history. And
it is getting broke.
Yeah, it's gonna get broke probably on the first drive of the game. If the
first drive, dude.
Yeah, if I was a betting man, a big betting man, I would bet money that this right here is gonna happen on the first drive of the game that Iowa has the ball.
That's right. I agree with that. Well, guys, that is the bowl games coming up for the SEC. We will be making these picks official probably next week, the 17th, next Sunday. Pretty excited about it. Pretty mad that there's only 9 teams bowl eligible out of the SEC. Thanks, Florida, Arkansas, Vanderbilt, Mississippi State, and that other one, South Carolina. Just unbelievable. Like, you had one job.
Yeah,
but whatever. Not going to hold it against you. What about Florida? 3 years in a row now.
Well, they made a bowl game last year. Did
they? My bad.
They were 6-6 because that was the game that they played against Oregon State, I believe, and got just demolished because Anthony Richardson opted out of the bowl game. They brought in the backup, and Oregon State 38-3 or whatever.
So they probably would have been better off. They were 5-7. Got it.
Yes.
I heard that. All right. No, it's all right. Billy's doing a great job. Take your time. You're still beating Tennessee, so we're extending that contract, my guy. It's okay. Let's get into the second segment of the show, man, because I spent a lot of time on this trying to get some information together. I want to talk about portal updates. I want to talk about guys that have another year to come back, and then also guys that have kind of already entered the portal or just not really made a decision. So I kind of want to update you. I want to update the folks. We have officially 7 people have entered the portal, but I'm pretty sure there's an 8th that I went ahead and wrote down that's going to, and that is defensive back Warren Burrell, defensive back Brandon Turnage, defensive back Jack Luttrell, offensive lineman Mo Clipper Jr., offensive lineman Addison Nichols, defensive lineman Tyler Barron, offensive lineman Connor Meadows. Now, those 7 people have entered the portal. The 8th guy that I wrote down that is expected to hit the portal, but he hasn't made it official, is defensive back Danico Slaughter. So
I want your thoughts on this.
Obviously, defensive back, we're clearing house, dude. Like, it's insane. But one thing I want to make mention is Warren Burrell's had it tough, man. He got hurt several years ago and just not really been able to find his way back into the rotation. Yeah. So that one's not really, it is what it is, man. Like, I hope he finds a place where he can finish out his collegiate career on a high note. Jack Luttrell was a new guy that just hasn't seen the field. I think he was a 3-star recruit. I think he read the writing on the wall. So I think that's why he's entering as well. Honestly, my initial opinions is nobody really like, oh, that one hurt. Other than maybe Tyler Barron.
And Addison. And maybe Addison was a little bit, but Nichols hadn't panned out like everybody thought that he would. I mean,
hadn't yet. But the thing is, man, he was a redshirt sophomore, and the offensive line this year, and you know this, was like strictly seniors. So it's hard to win out, you know. It's so, but you've seen him in the end, the final two games, man. He's got plenty of playing time the last two games, which is why I kind of thought it was a shock. Now, just because they hit the portal doesn't mean they're leaving. I want everybody to kind of understand that. I think Tyler Barron, that one hurts, but I also think that one doesn't like affect the team nearly as bad as it may sound, even though he was the second leading tackler or sack leader on Tennessee's defense. But man, I don't think you realize just how big a defensive line or a defensive edge, an exterior lineman on the defense, that's such a rotational position. And we have so many great young players coming in. Look at James Pierce, man. He's not even a junior yet. He will be. You got Joshua Josephs. You got that West kid. There's so many that I can't even name off the top of my head. We're going to be fine. We're going to be fine on the edge. All right.
And talking about younger guys real quick, you know, I want your thoughts on this. Do you believe that the defensive back room cleaning out the way it is right here is just guys seeing that writing on the wall about all the young talent that is coming in, and they've seen the improvements of all these younger guys, and they're saying, well, I don't really know if I want to compete for this because I'm afraid I'm going to get beat out. Do you 100%. Think maybe that's these guys leaving?
So it's both. You got Jordan Matthews, Ricky Gibson, these kids coming in as defensive backs that are 4-star recruits that Heupel, I mean, those are his guys that he believes in. You've also got some guys that could be coming back that we haven't really talked about that I'm going to talk about. You could be having some seniors coming in and using that COVID year to their advantage and playing another year. And I think that's another reason why you see some kids hit the portal. Because I know a lot of people are like, wow, why is Tennessee losing players? Like, we're on the up and up. And I'm like, okay, I agree with that. But you also got to understand that when people want, you know, when they play college football, they want to play college football. They don't want to sit on the bench the whole time. I'm a little different because I know I'm not good. I will gladly sit the bench and get rings all day long. I'm totally fine with that. But you got other kids out there who really, truly believe in themselves that want to contribute to the team. And so these kids that are seeing it, like you mentioned, writing on the wall that they're not going to be able to contribute to the team, they're going to go play for a team that they can contribute to. We do have some people that have announced already that they're returning to utilize that COVID year.
There's a big name I'm waiting for you to hear.
That's right. So remember, we had 3 offensive linemen that entered the portal. Well, that's because we got offensive lineman John Campbell Jr. And if you don't remember him, he's the kid that literally blocked a guy in Nashville, just like the Blindside movie, straight to the stands. Like,
time for him to go home.
I think it was voted SEC Nations or SEC Now's block of the year. And it happened in week 1. So he's coming back. He announced on his Instagram. We got linebacker, and I love this one, Keenan Peely.
Yes.
He is coming back. Now, I know we only got to see him for 1 game, but I think he's that vocal leader that we need on our defense, and he's coming back healthy again next year.
And not to mention, he's like 20, 28, 27.
He's a whole dad.
Yeah.
He's a whole dad, dude.
He's married to at least 1 kid. I think he's got 2 kids.
Probably. And then offensive lineman Cooper Mays. He's coming back. So we got 2 offensive linemen. He's officially announced it.
Okay, I have not seen that. I've seen speculation
According to a source, he is officially announced he's coming back. I'm excited, but now because you have those linemen coming back, that's why you're seeing these younger guys enter the portal because they know that's a whole nother year. They're not going to be the starters. So I've got some guys down that I'm feeling good, but there's no announcement yet. And that's wide receiver Brew McCoy. It's defensive lineman Amari Thomas and Omar Norman Lott. Feeling pretty good about those guys coming back. You've got safety Tamarion McDonald. We got cornerback Gabe Judy Lally. And he's not a senior, but according to his Instagram, I think we have locked down Dylan Sampson. I think he's coming back. He never entered the portal, but he did take out Vol Football on his Instagram page if you've been following my TikTok. So it kind of scared a lot of people. But he has since added Vol Football back to his Instagram bio. He probably secured a better NIL deal, which let's not overlook some of these guys that enter the portal that are probably just doing the same thing. Let's be honest. Tyler Barron could absolutely just be trying to lock in a bigger bag and coming right back.
The second time he's done this.
It is. Well, I'm not going to fault him the first time on a coaching change.
I'll agree with that. I'll agree with that.
So, and I will give Heupel credit for locking him back down. So those are some of the guys that I was feeling good about coming back, but they've not officially announced. I do want to talk about some transfer portal news and some recruiting news. We lost a big-time 5-star offensive tackle, Jordan Seaton, to Colorado and Deion Sanders. Now, Jordan Seaton released a top 6 or 7, and Colorado wasn't even in it. In fact, Tennessee was the high favorite for this kid. I think we had the best NIL deal for him out of any other school, including Ohio State and Oregon, who were the other 2 top front runners. Jordan Seaton, I'm not going to bash this kid. He did what he felt like is best for him. Credit to him. What I'm concerned about, and what I'm more so wanting to talk about, is Jordan Seaton and Boo Carter had a great relationship. And they've sent each other pictures on their stories saying, hey, brother, it's a lock, or like, we're locked in, you know what we're doing. So the fact that Jordan Seaton committed to Colorado, does that put Boo Carter on flip alert? Does that mean that Boo Carter could be flipping to Colorado?
I'm not going to say no, because I'm not going to lie. I got on Twitter earlier this week and had a notification, and it turns out it was a fake account that said this. Said that Boo Carter has unpinned his commitment post to Tennessee from Twitter. Said that it's gone. He's taking Vol football out of his bio and all that. And I hopped over to Boo Carter's page and looked. None of that is true. He still has the commitment post pinned. Still got Vol football in his bio. He won 6A Mr. Football in the state of Tennessee and tagged Vol football in that. So I'm not going to say that it's out of the realm of possibility that he flips, but right now I'm pretty high on Boo Carter staying with Tennessee at this moment. But, you know, things could change. I'm not sure when he is set to officially sign, but, you know, anything can happen between now and signing day.
I think there's a signing day, early signing days in December.
Yeah,
December. I think we're like a week or 2 away from it.
Yeah, I know there is one coming up here in December. I'm not sure when he is actually going to sign. No, I know the normal signing day is in February. That's the way it always has been, but hardly anybody does that anymore because of all the early signing days.
Well, everybody wants to be on campus in January so they can be a part of spring football. So, but some other recruiting news is Jonathan Echols, who's been a long-time tight end commit, has actually flipped to USF. I seen that one coming from a mile away. You got Alex Golish, who was part of our recruiting. Once he became a head coach, you knew he was going to take away a player, if not multiple players, from our recruiting. Because, believe it or not, Alex Golish was our recruiter. So, there's nothing shady about that. Like, I'm not hating Alex Golish for that. Jonathan Echols. One, I think this is a testament to how good Ethan Davis is. And another tight end that we're looking at that was actually on campus right now as we speak this weekend is Holden Stays, the number 1 tight end in the transfer portal out of Notre Dame. He was in town this weekend. I think Vols are absolutely in the running for this guy. And the reason why is because Justin Jolly is a guy that everybody kind of assumed that we were going to go after because he plays for UConn. And everybody in Neyland saw him put up 100 yards almost against our defense when UConn played Tennessee. That has not happened. I think water got poured on that fire when the news about Holden Stays kind of flared up. Justin Jolly didn't even make the trip this weekend as scheduled because of that. So I'm feeling pretty good about Holden Stays, the tight end out of Notre Dame, number 1 in the portal. That is pretty much all the insides of the portal. And then also Texas A&M has a commit or has a guy in the portal, Walter Nolan. He was out of Powell, Tennessee. If you don't know where that's at, it's basically exactly, 15 minutes north of Knoxville, maybe less than. So Walter Nolan is from Knoxville, hit the portal from Texas A&M. It was definitely between A&M and Tennessee when he committed to A&M. A lot of people seem to think that Tennessee's the front runner. I think he's having a really good look at Georgia. But you're nodding your head no. What's up?
just some things that I've been hearing about. I don't know exactly what went on, but apparently there was some there were some ties that were severed after the commitment to Texas A&M between Nolan and Tennessee. I don't see him coming back to Tennessee. I would love to have him because, man, that dude is a beast. But I don't see him coming to Tennessee.
I don't say that I don't see him coming to Tennessee because I'm a firm believer that no matter what a kid decides, coaches are not going to hold it against them, regardless. Now, fans can say what they want to. And trust me, Robert, the fans have let Jordan Seaton know how stupid of a decision that was. But at the end of the day, the kid is doing what he feels like is best for him. I'm personally not going to hold it against him. I am of the opinion that if he wants to go waste his talents at Colorado just for fame on Instagram, by all means, go for it. Yeah. I think Walter Nolan could be a key piece. Especially Tyler Barron's gone. You bring in Walter Nolan. He's a hometown kid anyways. I don't think that bridge is necessarily burnt. But I don't see us winning out the recruitment battle to begin with. That kid's the number one edge in the portal. I just don't see us winning that battle. And I don't know if we need to win that battle. I don't think that we need Walter Nolan, personally. So, yeah. But that's the latest news in the portal and in recruiting. And I just kind of wanted to give everybody an update because that changes daily. And I've just kind of been gathering information. So the portal, I think, officially opened on the 4th or on the 6th of December.
It's normally open for about 30 days, 31 days, something like that. So around the 4th or 5th of January is when it'll close again. And after, we can give an update about some of the other teams and, who all.
And after bowl games, you'll see another, just absolutely. It's almost like somebody will be opening the dam. I mean, after bowl season, you'll see another wave of transfers hit the portal. So just be on the lookout for that. Follow some Tennessee pages on Instagram. There's a lot of them. I follow a ton of them, but that's how you can keep up with it day to day. That's what I do. But that's the update from us from here at the Vol Fanatic Show.
And just a couple of other names outside of Tennessee I want to mention. Rocket Sanders at Arkansas, he has entered the portal. Also, linebacker at Arkansas, I can't remember, Chris Paul Jr. He has entered the portal from Arkansas. There's some other big names out there. And Robert, this is where I want to mention Brock Vandegrift. So first off, I don't fault Brock Vandegrift from deciding to leave Georgia because I believe that means that Carson Beck is coming back next year. And a big shout out to Carson Beck. I mean, he waited his turn behind Stetson Bennett, and this year he put up close to Heisman numbers, but there was those guys that went ahead of him that just had better numbers. And he also wasn't the most important player on the Georgia team. I mean, you had Brock Bowers out there, which, I mean, he did get hurt, but you had all these other guys that contributed to that success. It wasn't just Carson Beck. But I think he saw the writing on the wall, realized that Beck is coming back, and Brock Vandegrift transferred to Kentucky. And I'm a guy that I really hope the best for everyone out there whenever they transfer. I hope that, I hope that their careers go on and they have success in them. But the question I want to bring up to you here, Skylar, is do you think that Brock Vandegrift is the next quarterback in the line of Kentucky transfer quarterbacks that is a bust?
I'm not going to say a bust, but he will be the next transfer quarterback to go to Kentucky and not be Tennessee.
True. And I guess I shouldn't say a bust. I guess
I'm not going to say a bust because Will Levis, and I would consider Will Levis a bust. I don't know if I would consider Will Levis a bust, but he could not be Tennessee. He could not be Tennessee.
Yes. Is he going to be the next transfer quarterback at Kentucky to underperform the expectations that are expected of him coming in?
Okay. That's a more fair question, but I'm going to give you kind of an honest answer, and that is I don't know. I've never watched Brock Vandegrift play a play in my life. I've never seen the kid. I don't know what his skill sets are. He kind of looks like a dad if you just took a picture of him. I don't know. Like the dude just looks like he's an older quarterback that honestly you would have thought had played for years, but he's been kind of riding the bench at Georgia. I think he was a 5-star recruit.
He was a 5-star recruit coming in.
Yeah, it's crazy to me to think that a 5-star, because there's not a lot of them. In every recruiting class, there is not a lot of 5-star quarterbacks. So the fact that he went to Georgia and has just been sitting on the bench the whole time, I don't know, man. It's I think we'll see. As a Tennessee fan, I don't know how I want to word this. We better see a good Kentucky team next year out of Stoops, because if not, things may end in Kentucky and Lexington and it not be on Stoops' watch. See, right now I think Stoops hold the cards, but if he doesn't have a good season next year, I think Kentucky may make some moves.
Yep, you might be right. So my thoughts on it is, I just don't know how well Kentucky does at developing quarterbacks, because you look at 2021 Will Levis, he had a really good year overall, but he was behind an outstanding offensive line. I mean, the term the big blue wall, that year, that offensive line, that was the big blue wall. And then 2022, granted, I know that they lost the offensive coordinator. Can't remember his name off the top of my head, but that offensive line was absolutely terrible. And Will Levis could not do anything because of that. And there was some.
It was the worst offensive line, I think. I think it was the worst offensive line in Kentucky history.
You might be right on that. And there was, it
was the most sacks. It was the
expectations for Will Levis that year. And he he underperformed because he could not do anything with that offensive line.
I think his offensive line costed Will Levis a first-round pick, 100%.
I can 100% back that. I think that you were correct with that statement. And then this year you had transfer quarterback Devin Leary, who did a lot of good things at NC State. He was a really good quarterback. He was hurt some, and there was questions about how he would do this year coming off of that injury from last year. But the expectations for him coming in with that offensive coordinator, like I said, still can't remember his name, but he came back to Kentucky and everyone was like, okay, he's back. We got a good transfer quarterback coming in. The expectations, once again, are sky high, and they could not be met. Devin Leary he badly underperformed this year. So
Liam Cohen.
Do it.
Liam Cohen.
Thank you for that. I cannot remember his name for the life of me, but Liam Cohen, he's a very good offensive coordinator, but I don't know if they're good at developing quarterbacks, and that's why I bring up the question. That's why I brought up that question to you. Do you think that Brock Vandagriff could be that next quarterback in the line of Kentucky quarterbacks to underperform? And I really think that he will underperform for Kentucky. I hope not. I hope the best for Brock. I really want him to succeed because I don't wish ill will against anybody. I just don't. I don't see him having success at Kentucky because I don't see any quarterback having a ton of success at Kentucky right now.
Well, the good news with Kentucky, though, is luckily they're getting a 5-star quarterback who's been in the best system in the last 2 years. They don't necessarily have to develop him. The problem with Kentucky is he's only going to be as good as his offensive line allows him to be. So the problem with Devin Leary this year is the big blue wall was just that in the rushing game, but the complete opposite in the passing game.
Yeah.
So now they need an offensive line that can put it all together. And they haven't had that in 3 years. So you got your quarterback. Now they need to pour in all their efforts into building an offensive line and to coach them up, to give Brock Vandagriff all the tools he needs. He's got wide receivers, man. Barryon Brown and they got another kid. I don't know his name. They're good. They're fine on the outside. But and Brock Vandagriff, I don't know how but if he's a 5-star recruit that went to Georgia, he's going to be good. So Just give the kid a line, give the kid an offensive line. They'll be fine. And again, like I said, for Coach Stoops, they better have a promising start to the 2024 season. Especially with the 12-team playoff. So
it could go downhill in a hurry. And the last name I want to mention, and I won't spend a lot of time on him. You brought him up before we went live. Juice Wells from South Carolina. Tennessee and Texas have been noted as the front runners to get Juice Wells. What are your thoughts on him possibly going to Knoxville?
Reading Robert's comment, he says if Brock is a bust, how can Stoops not be on the hot seat? I'm just saying, that's what I think, dude. So at least look, that's why I like Robert. Robert makes me feel good. We kind of think the same, you know what I'm saying? No, I'm joking. Juice Wells, let's get back on the track. Juice Wells. So it was between Texas and Tennessee. And the reason why I say was is because VolQuest. God, Austin Price. There we go. Austin Price on the VolQuest. If you guys don't watch it, y'all should. They're the real insiders. We're just fans that are relaying information. Austin Price came out and said, hey, let's pour water on the fire on Juice Wells. He thinks that it's strictly an NIL thing, has nothing to do with connections or anything. That dude is looking for the biggest purse. And I don't know if that's something that we're going to do. Now, with us losing a high dollar tag and Jordan Seaton, maybe we can put a little bit more towards Juice Wells. But it's kind of one of those things where, is that really where we want to put our money when we need some offensive linemen? So, I mean, it's a big roster management thing. I just don't think Juice Wells is probably the right fit for Tennessee. But again, we're in the mix. So, I mean, if anything, Colorado's proven is you don't even have to be in the mix to still win out a 5-star recruit. So,
yeah, and I think to your point there, I don't think that Josh Heupel wants a guy that is just looking for money. He wants a guy that is going to help his team and is going to build relationships with the guys out there and is going to put them in the best position to win games. And a guy that's just out there looking for the biggest bag, that tells me he's not going to do whatever it takes to help his team. He's out there looking out for himself, and that's not the guy that Josh Heupel is looking for.
And that's not what you want in your locker room, man.
No, absolutely.
So, I mean, I love that you bring that up. I mean, because if he's going to be like that in the portal, could you imagine what he's going to be like in the locker room? And you're exactly right. One thing Heupel's done, and he's done very well, is he went out and he's got kids that are really good at heart. Like, they know what they want. They're determined. They're motivated. Kamal Haddon's had a hothead problem, but man, that kid, he played his heart out for Tennessee, and he played his heart out for his brothers. And that's exactly the type of kids that Josh Heupel is going to go after. So I agree with you 100%. But it's December. Somebody told me it's basketball season. Somebody told me that we're now on a 2-game winning streak. You want to talk about them Vols, baby?
Let's talk about the basketballs.
Let's talk about them basketballs, baby.
So yesterday at 12 Eastern on CBS, Tennessee hosted the Illinois Fighting Illini, and that was a fantastic game. Tennessee did end up pulling out the victory, 86-79. Skylar, you want to give out some stats in this game here?
Let's do it, man. So Tennessee gets the win. 17 ranked Volunteers beat 20 ranked Fighting Illini, 86-79. As you said, they were actually losing at halftime, 36-34, but they come back, have a big second half where they scored 52 points. They get the win, and just some key stats right off the top of the bat is 3-pointers. They were 6 of 18 were the Vols. They were 27-60 in field goals, so right at 45%. And free throws, they were 26-34. Not perfect. They were 76.5% on free throws. But they out-rebounded 43-34. They had 13 offensive rebounds, so second chance points were a big factor. And then they had 30 defensive rebounds to just 22 of the Fighting Illini. Man, honestly, this was just a team effort overall. I'm sitting here looking. We had 5 scores in double digits behind Dalton Connect leading the way with 21. I didn't watch the game because I was in the middle of a Christmas parade. That was freaking awesome. But I did catch a highlight of, it kind of seems like Zakai Ziegler got a steal. He threw it to Triple J where he got to slam it in. I think they took the lead on that goal. And I felt like that was like the turning point in the game, was it not?
That was the turning point in the game. And Tennessee was in the middle of a run at that point. I don't remember how many points they scored in a row, but they were down starting off the run by 4 or 5, I believe. I don't remember off the top of my head, but Tennessee went on a run at that point, and that one, it was the turning point in the game. That steal and that slam from Triple J. It was.
What about Triple J? What about Triple J? You want to take a moment and just talk about him?
Yes, I want to talk about Triple J because I want to ask you a couple of questions here just about Tennessee in general, and then we'll get back on this game. So,
yeah,
who is the best player on this team? And it's not a hard question.
I mean, right now, if you ask me, I got to go Dalton Connect, bro.
Absolutely. 100%. Dalton Connect is the best player on this Tennessee team. Who is the most important player on this Tennessee team?
It's got to be Triple J, dude.
It is Triple J. And I don't think there can be any other answer to this question because Triple J coming back for yet another year. I believe this is his 6th year, I believe. It could be 5th. I know he's used a COVID year. He possibly has used a red shirt as well, a medical red shirt, because he has been hurt. The fact that Triple J this year has not had to go through all the injuries that he has. So each summer he has had some sort of injury since he has been on Rocky Top that he has had to miss time in the summer. This is the first offseason that he has been completely healthy. And it is showing because Triple J yesterday, his stat line, 12 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists to go along with a steal. He was 6 of 8 from the foul line yesterday. He's doing it all. He's not just doing it in one area, just his presence on the court, and not to mention because of his size and his strength, he can literally guard anybody on the floor. He is 6'6", I believe. But if Tennessee chose to, they could go out there with a small lineup and put him at the center, and he could still guard the other team's center. Just having him on the floor is unbelievable for Tennessee. So, last question that I have, who is the X factor player on this Tennessee team, in your opinion? And this is a little bit tougher question.
It is, but and maybe this ain't the right answer for this question, but kind of a guy that surprised me this year that's kind of been the constant for the team is Jonas Adu.
Okay, Jonas Adu.
Jonas Adu has been the guy that, regardless of the win or the losses, he's always seemed to be the stabilizer for the team. Whether that's on offense, getting the points, whether that's on defense, getting the rebounds, he just seems to be the constant for the team. Santiago Vescovi and Zakai Ziegler, do not get me wrong, they are freaking great players, but it's taken them several games this year to kind of find their way. I think they were a little shocked this year when Dalton Connect came in and just freaking took over. I think they kind of had a little bit of a, oh, shoot, like, did not expect that. We were supposed to be those guys, you know what I mean? Like, but I think if you're taking like constant, like you kind of know what you're going to get out of a player week or day in and day out, because it's not weekly games like football. It's got to be Jonas Adu. But maybe that's the wrong answer for this question.
So I can make an argument for that, and I don't think that you're wrong. I don't think that there is necessarily a wrong answer to this question, but I'm going to go a separate route here and say Jemai Mashak. The energy, the energy that he plays with, he is giving you not just 100%, not just 110%. He's giving you 120% or more each time that he steps on the floor. And, you know,
and I love that pick. I love that pick because he absolutely, especially last night, he did the absolute most with the least amount of time.
Yeah, he only played 15 minutes yesterday. He has been starting most of the year, but that's because Zakai Ziegler has still been coming back from the ACL tear from last year. But he was 2 for 2 from the field, 5 of 6 from the free throw line. He had 4 total rebounds yesterday, including 1 offensive rebound, 3 assists, no turnovers in the game. He did have 2 fouls, but the presence that he has on defense, he is just an absolute pest on defense. If you're being guarded by Jemai Mashak, you on one hand you got to feel good because you're like, okay, this means that I am the guy on the other team, because whoever the guy is for the other team, that's who Meshack is going to be guarding when he comes in. But at the same time, you're thinking, crap, I got this guy on me. And then not only that, but his offensive game has come around. He has really worked on the 3-point line this year, and he doesn't shoot a lot of them, but if you leave him open, he is going to knock him down, and he's always finding his way around the ball. I love Jemai Meshack and just the energy that he gives, and that's why I'm putting him as my X Factor player on this Tennessee team. But I can also make an argument for Jonas Aidoo, because you're right. He is that stabilizer guy. He is that post presence that Tennessee needs, and he has stepped up the last few games.
That was kind of where I was coming from, because like even with Zakai, because let's be honest, he's kind of finding his way, and after that big ACL injury, like I get it. Santiago Vescovi's kind of been cold from the arch, but he's had some personal things going on. But you've had Jonas Aidoo kind of step up. He's just been that, kind of been that constant. Like you know what you're getting. But one thing that even about Triple J that we really haven't even mentioned is the fact that what he did on the boards and scoring 12 was great. Dude had 7 assists. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty good. When your team has 21 assists to 9, I love what we're doing when we're passing the ball around. Everybody's sharing the rock, and I mean, clearly everybody fed on it. And but Jemai Meshack, Toby Awaka, Jordan Gainey. Jordan Gainey's kind of a guy that's interesting, because in the couple of games that I've caught, he's really made the most out of kind of the limited amount of minutes that he got. Now, unfortunately, this game, he really didn't. I mean, he got 5 points in 17 minutes. But I think this team is, especially with having the 3 or 2 come back, and Triple J and Santiago, which you didn't think were going to be coming back, this team's looking good depth-wise. I'm not really worried about that. And I'm honestly okay that they've been punched in the mouth early in the season. They've had the hardest schedule out of like any freaking college basketball team to start the first 10 games. Yeah. And let's not be honest, like they got punched in the mouth, but I am so okay with it now. And then hopefully we make a run in March, rather than how has it been the last few seasons where we go freaking, I don't know, 24-8 or 30-7. I don't know how many games they play in a regular season, but you're very pumped. You started out 10-0 or whatever, and then you lose in the round of 32 or the first round or the Sweet 16. Like the vibes are a little bit different, but I still feel like it's very positive for the Vols.
Yeah, and so guys, first off, Skylar and I are both football guys. He actually played the game. I did not, but I've been around football a long time. I've been a PA announcer at Cornersville since my senior year of high school. I'm a basketball guy, so I'm going to probably go a little bit more in depth than Skylar will about basketball. And when we get to baseball season, do it.
I said, I don't know basketball plays. I'm naive as hell.
Yeah.
Hit a screen. Hit a screen. Give me a screen. I know that's in football, baby. No, I'm joking.
No, I'm a basketball guy, though. I'm going to go in depth on a lot of this. And, Skylar's going to sit back and he's going to listen to me and he's going to chip in. But he's like, man, you got the floor on this. That's Skylar when it comes to baseball. Skylar knows his baseball. I know a little bit because I played the game. But Skylar has played it his whole life. I only played it in high school. So Skylar's got the floor when it comes to baseball season, guys. But basketball season, man.
All right, take your moment. All right, you have the floor, dude.
But look, you hit the nail on the head with Tennessee basketball. It's been disappointing over the last few years where we have had so much success in that regular season. And a matter of fact, 2 years ago, won the conference championship or conference tournament championship, something that hadn't been done since I believe 1986 was the last time Tennessee basketball won a SEC tournament championship in men's basketball. But then you mentioned it. You go and you get beat in the second round by Michigan. So it was very disappointing. I love this Tennessee team because they've got so much depth, like you mentioned. But at the same time, in yesterday's game, they only played 8 guys because that's all that they had to play. Where you've got guys this year that have been playing. I mean, Tennessee's been going like 12 deep at times. you've got some notable names yesterday that didn't even play that have been in games past. You got Freddie DeLeon, who he's still coming around. But he's going to be a good player for Tennessee. You got JP Estrella. He is a very talented freshman that has come along a little bit. He did not play at all yesterday. You got Cade Phillips, who actually was listed to be redshirted this year, and the players came together to Rick Barnes and said, "Look, we don't need to redshirt him. We're going to need him this year because of how talented he is." He didn't play yesterday. And a guy that I absolutely love that has come out and played some, he's also going to be a talented player down the road, is Cameron
DJ
Carr. DJ Jefferson, I believe, has got some off the court issues that has kept him from being able to play as much. He's also talented, and I can't wait to see him. But Cameron Carr, I am a big fan of. I can't remember the game right off the top of my head, but he came in towards the end. It was a blowout win for Tennessee. And the first time he touched the ball, the defender gave him a little bit of space. So he just grabbed it, stepped right in. First shot, bam, nothing but net. I mean, just his mentality when he goes out there, he's so confident. So Tennessee has got so much talent. They're so deep. And, yesterday they only played 8 guys, but they can go 10, 11, 12 deep if they need to. So this is a Tennessee team that when they pull it all together, they're going to make some noise, I believe. And you mentioned the schedule so far this year. They have played the number 1 team in the nation at the time in Kansas and got beat by 8 or 9. You got beat by the number 2 team in the nation at the time in Purdue by 5 or 6. You got beat by North Carolina, who was ranked like 17 at the time, but they're in the top 10 now at their home court by 8. Their 3 losses are all by single digits. And you've also knocked off top 25 Wisconsin at Wisconsin and number 20 Illinois at home. Tennessee is battle tested, and they're going to be ready for the SEC. Of course, they're going to drop some games in the SEC because nobody goes perfect in the conference. But
it's like baseball, impossible almost.
Absolutely. And Tennessee was predicted to win the SEC in the preseason. I think they very well can do it. I know Kentucky has got a good team this year as well, and we'll talk a little bit more about some of the other teams in the conference as we go forward after New Year's. We're not going to go as in depth with the other teams as we do in football, just because there is so many basketball games. But we're going to discuss the other teams as well. But Kentucky's got a good team. Arkansas does. Texas A&M does. There's some good teams in this conference, but Tennessee is absolutely at the very top, and I am very, very excited for this Tennessee team.
Well, I can clearly tell. I want to ask you something. Moving forward with this basketball team, before they hit the SEC schedule, I mean, what are some things that you need to see them clean up? Because, look, this team is known for being feisty defensively, right? They kind of get that brand. I seen our daggum athletic director, Danny White, shared something where another athletic director was like, man, they're drawing blood. This is crazy. Blah, blah, basically saying that our players are bullies, right? And Danny White called him out, shared that post. But anyways, defending our players, which is why I love Danny White. But I've also seen our team cough up the ball a lot of turnovers. That's just me watching. I've only caught about 3 or 4 games this year. What do you need to see them do cleanup wise? I mean, they gave up 100 to North Carolina, and I know they were hot that first half, but what do you need to see?
Number 1 team I need to see is they need to shoot the free throws better. They have not shot the ball well from the free throw line this year. 75% like it was yesterday. That's not terrible, but that's going to lose you some ball games going forward. So that's the number 1.
Giving up 5. I was going to say that's giving up 5 points right there. Because you're almost guaranteed to shoot 20 free throws in a game at least. So if you're only hitting 75 of them, you're giving up 5 points right there every game.
Yeah, that's my number one thing. They have cleaned up the turnovers a little bit, but they still need to. Sometimes they do a little bit too much with the basketball. This is a very unselfish team. As you saw yesterday, they had 21 assists in the game compared to Illinois' 9 assists. So they're a very unselfish team. They're going to look for the best shot, but there are times where this team needs to get a little bit more selfish and take that first shot that they get, because that might be the best one that you get throughout the entire possession. And so sometimes they try to do a little bit too much and end up turning the ball over. That's something that needs to be cleaned up a little bit. Something that they have definitely improved on over the last few games since the North Carolina game is the post presence down low. I understand it was a very tall task for Adu and Awaka and Phillips and Estrella going up against some of the best big men in college basketball with Zach Edey and Hunter Dickinson, and then I can't remember the guy from North Carolina's name, but those were 3 of the best big men you're going to go up against all year long. And
as Rick Barnes said.
Yeah, and the Tennessee post presence was almost non-existent on the offensive end. And I know that those guys are good, but you've got to have a post presence down there, because I believe that is the reason why Tennessee lost the Purdue and the Kansas game, for instance, because yes, it was, back-to-back-to-back days you're playing basketball, but the three-point shot was not falling. And when the three-point shot is not falling for Tennessee, they start to get in a little bit of trouble. So you've got to have that post presence to be able to open things up for that outside shot. There was too many shots forced in that game, and that's something that Tennessee is going to have to work on as the year goes on. But they've already started to improve on it a little bit over the last 2 games against George Mason and against Illinois. You mentioned Awaka. He's been that constant presence, especially over the last 2 games. He had a career high against George Mason. I can't remember his final numbers, but it was somewhere around 20. And he had 14 yesterday in the game. So when you have 14 from a post player like that, they have to start respecting that, and your outside shot starts opening up a little bit more. So Tennessee going forward, Rick Barnes does a great job of improving things as the year goes on. I think they're going to, but those are some little things need to get cleaned up. Defensively, this is still a very good defensive basketball team, but sometimes they over pursue a little bit. So that's some stuff that needs to get cleaned up some, because you mentioned North Carolina was hot in that game, and they were, but you can't give up 100 points in a game, because you're not going to lose. You're not going to win many games where you give up 100 points.
No shot. Well, hey, Tennessee moving forward, they've got 4 games left until they start SEC play. This coming week, they play Georgia Southern Tuesday, December 12th, and then they play NC State Saturday, December 16th. They will play Tarleton State Thursday, December 21st, before the Christmas and New Year's break, where they'll come out and face Norfolk State, January 2nd. And then it's SEC time against Ole Miss, January 6th, man. I think, judging this team, and I don't really know any of the other teams, but I'm expecting Tennessee to kind of sweep these 4 games before SEC. Do we agree?
I 100% agree. I don't know much about NC State, but that is going to be a little bit tougher team than, say, Georgia Southern, Norfolk State, though, some of those games. But
all are home games, I believe. So they're coming here.
And that George Mason game the other night, that was the first home game that Tennessee has played in almost a month. Because before then, their first home game was what was it, Austin? No, not Austin P.
It was Tennessee Tech.
Yeah, Tennessee Tech.
Tennessee Tech to start the season, and then they played Wofford after they beat Wisconsin at Wisconsin. And then, man, they've kind of been on the road. They were on because it was that tournament, right, where they played. Was it Syracuse, Purdue, Kansas?
Yeah. I think you had a North Carolina game in there. And
that was at North Carolina. So, yeah, George Mason was only really the 3rd game of the season in Thompson-Boling Arena, and Illinois was the 4th. But, yeah, so they'll come up on a 4-game home stretch here. And, of course, that is broken up by the Christmas, New Year's break. But exciting things to come. Hopefully they can start SEC play at 11-3. That is the hope, at least. We don't want anything less than that. And I'm excited, man. I'm not a big basketball guy, like you've already mentioned. I appreciate that, letting the folks know to kind of save me if I sound like an idiot. But I'm all Tennessee thing. So one thing I want to talk about before we get off for the day, because I know we once again have a long episode. I kind of want to talk about the Lady Vols, dude, if you don't mind. And no, I don't really watch them that often. I think I've only caught one game this year. They're currently playing right now against Eastern Kentucky. But I kind of want to talk about just the situation. Like, they've not started the way, obviously, anybody wants to start the season. They're 4-5 right now. Is that correct? Yeah. They're 4-5 right now. They're 3-2 at home, and they're actually winless on the road. But Kelly Harper, she's done fantastic things for this basketball team. And I'm not here saying that she should be on the hot seat. But what I am here saying is I know for a fact nobody on that basketball team seen this type of start to the season and losing to Middle Tennessee the way they did ever happening. And I know they're dealing with injuries, but just give me a feel for the room for the Lady Vols right now, because I know people are not happy with it. So, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, this team just went to the Sweet 16 last year, along with the men's basketball team.
They did, and I don't believe that Kelly Harper should be on the hot seat yet, because we talked about the men's schedule, how difficult it is. The Lady Vol schedule is no cupcake either. I mean, they other than MTSU, all of their other losses this year have been to teams ranked in the top 25. That is something that Kelly Harper has done since she came to Tennessee. Is she has made sure that her team is tested by the time SEC play rolls around. So other than MTSU, and that was a game where MTSU was just lights out from the 3-point line that night. Tennessee has been dealing with the injury to Rakia Jackson. I don't believe she has come back from that injury yet, and she is by far Tennessee's best player in the game. Matter of fact, MTSU in that game, they were 50% from the 3-point line. So unreal from the 3-point line.
But you make a good point. They lost to number 16 Indiana. They got a 3-point victory over Oklahoma. They lost to the 12th ranked Buckeyes. So to your point, man, they played some pretty good teams. They unfortunately lost all 3 of their ranked matchups, but I'm so sorry. They lost to Florida State by 1 point.
Yeah, they lost to.
So they've actually lost
1. Yeah, they've
lost all 4 of their ranked matchups so far.
Well, at the time that they played each of these teams, Florida State was ranked 18th, so that was a ranked matchup. Indiana
is this showing me that? Okay, my fault.
On ESPN, it's showing me what they were ranked when they played them.
When they played.
Yeah, so Florida State was ranked 18th. That was at Florida State. That was on the road in a 1-point loss. I watched that game, and it was a heartbreaking loss for Tennessee. The Indiana loss, Indiana was ranked 21st at the time whenever they played. That game, unfortunately, was in Thompson-Boling Arena, so it was a home game that they dropped. But that was another game where Rakia Jackson was out. She played in the first 2 games, and I don't believe that she has played since. So that Indiana game was without her. Oklahoma was ranked 22nd at the time whenever they played, and they won that game at home. Also played at the time 18th ranked Notre Dame and lost by 5, and number 16 ranked at the time Ohio State, they lost by 20. All of those games were at home or possibly neutral site. I know the MTSU game was a neutral site game in Huntsville. I don't know about the other games, but I don't believe that Kelly Harper should be on the hot seat right now. I just think that some things have gone against Tennessee this year that I think they will turn around by the time conference play gets there, because Tennessee has done a very, very good job in conference play since Kelly Harper has gotten there. They've won some games that they probably should not have. And even last year going into the tournament, Tennessee, they didn't overachieve, but they didn't underachieve. They made the Sweet 16. And yes, when you look at Tennessee's history for the Lady Vols, their expectation is, championship game or bust, but the teams around them have gotten so much better. And I think it is a disadvantage for any head coach after Pat Summitt because of the success that she had for Tennessee. These head coaches cannot meet that same expectation that she reached. And I'm not saying that Tennessee should not expect to win championships, because absolutely Tennessee needs to. That should be their expectation, but to be compared to Pat Summitt, it's not a fair comparison. And I like Kelly Harper more than I did Holly Warlick, but I think that was her big downfall, was she was the one following Pat Summitt, because she still has success.
She had a great record. Like, let's be honest. I think she was like 75% in win-loss ratio. But to your point, she was the rebound higher after Pat Summitt. And she had a very high bar to live up to. And unfortunately, she, even though most people would think that's great to Tennessee standards and what they've been living with for decades, man, that was not it. That's not what they needed. But yeah, I agree with you, man. And I judge basketball a little bit differently, because I, like you mentioned, and like we all know now, I never really played basketball, but to me, it's so similar to baseball in the fact that no matter how good or bad a team is, you can get hot or cold at any moment. And it's a lot easier to get cold than it is to get hot. And, just trying to fight through that, get out of that. I think similarly with the men's, man, I love that they've got punched in the mouth early in the season. I kind of like the 2021 Braves, where they were 500 and they were crawling to get to All-Star break, and then they turn around and win the World Series. Like, I'm okay winning a national championship and not being the most dominant team. Look at the baseball team a couple of years ago, man. We literally was undefeated almost in SEC playing in the regular season, and then we didn't even make it to Omaha.
Yeah, arguably the best college baseball team of all time.
Of all time. Didn't even make it to Omaha.
Yeah, didn't make it to Omaha. And then you had a team this past year that, at one point was like, are we even going to make the tournament? Because of how bad that they were playing at the beginning of SEC play. And then went to Omaha this past year. I mean, it's whichever team gets hot at the right time when it comes to basketball and baseball. And I that's what I love about it is, you can have a bad start, but they're tournament sports.
We got Tennessee football 247. I went to the Tennessee and Illinois game yesterday. Hell yeah, I did. I bet you had a blast, dude. I bet the environment was raucous, dude. It was awesome. It was good to see. But Michael, man, that wraps up our show today. Do you have any final thoughts before we move on?
Well, let's give the folks listening a little preview of what's to come over the next few weeks, because guys, next week we will still be live. We will probably go a little bit earlier in the day, probably about 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 Central. Got some family stuff going on, Christmas stuff, and that is going to be our last show for the 2023 calendar year, because the next 2 Sundays are going to be Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. So we're going to take those 2 weeks off, spend some time with the family and stuff. And after next week's show on the 17th, our next one will be on January the 6th. So that's going to be the plan. We're going to give our complete bowl predictions next week.
Oh, dang. It's backwards. Love you, Robert.
Yeah, well, we're going to give our complete bowl predictions for the SEC teams next week. And then our next show will be the day before the college football championship game, and we'll make a prediction on that one as well. Skylar, we didn't really.
Did you remind the folks that who's still winning in that? By the way, you want to remind them real quick?
We don't have to do that.
We don't have to do that. That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. It's totally fine.
Skylar is ahead by 4 right now. He's got a 98-27 overall record. I'm sitting at 94-23. Still got a chance to come back, but it's looking slim. He
said we ain't got to do that, but I do have him sitting right here.
Yeah, but we hadn't really talked about it, but I know Alabama is in one of the playoff games. You want to go ahead and make a prediction next week on the other playoff game as well, the Texas-Washington game? Because, Texas is going to be
we can do the playoffs. Yeah, we can do the playoffs. Yeah.
So we will have 10 games next week to predict. We will also have our upset pick of the. I guess we'll do of the month. Of the bowl season.
Yeah.
Whatever team we think in the bowl season could pull off an upset.
Give me Kentucky over Clemson.
I better expect the Kentucky pick to win that game as well in the predictions. So.
Oh, I'll do it. No, I'm joking. So fun couple weeks coming up. Like I said, we're going to do the show a little bit earlier next week, just so that we can let Michael and his family. They're going to do some Christmas. He's like me, man. You got like 7 families that you got. You got the in-laws. You got 2 sides of the parents on your side, and 2 sides on her side.
Christmas is out, man.
Exactly, dude. Exactly. But very thankful that we have family to go enjoy it with. So, but I guess for myself, Skylar, man. Thank y'all for tuning in to the Vol Fanatic Show. We will see y'all next week.
Yep, guys. Thank y'all very much. One last mention. Prayers up to the victims of the tornadoes 100%. Yesterday. We'll see you guys next week. Skylar.
Robert's like, what tornadoes? Yeah. Tennessee got hit hard. Tennessee got hit hard by tornadoes. So yes, everybody be keeping Middle Tennessee in y'all's thoughts and prayers. But yes, Michael. See y'all.
Have a good week, man. See y'all next week.